The existence of an ATS industry, proof that the labor market has fallen. Why job seekers can only trust each other now. Hi, my name is Sarah Trumbull. I'm the founder and CEO of the Job Applicant Perspective, the first anonymous user reviews for job ads across the U.S. This is the level of go-to-market awareness as well as public service for all the gaslighting out there. This comes from my Substack, and I publish it once or twice a week. I also put this in video format on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and audio format as well. So let's start from the beginning. These are important topics, and I'm driving a paradigm shift that I think is pretty important and pretty necessary. But I do this because the position, anyone in my position, part of the role is education, getting people to step out of the system and the structure that's falling and step into something new. The shattering. This is for job seekers who have been ghosted, filtered, and blamed for a system they did not design. Hundreds of applications, silence. Jobs that weren't jobs. Algorithms rejecting you before a human even glanced at your name. A creeping shame whispering, "What's wrong with me?" When the truth is, nothing. Nothing was wrong with you. You weren't failing a job search. Your time, your energy, your hope, all extracted by an industry that profits from your presence in line, not from you getting through it. And everyone knew. Because that's exactly how the people in charge designed it. The economics are clear. The structural analysis is done, but this piece is different. This is a reckoning. Once you see the scale, the scope of who failed, for how long, across how many institutions, something shifts. You stop waiting for a rescue, you stop hoping reform will come, and a single undeniable question rises to the front. What do we do now? The doorway of change. First, the abdications. Employers, here are the numbers. Over 98% of Fortune 500 companies use applicant tracking systems, those systems that read your resume, parse it, and put it into boxes to tell people whether or not you should be interviewed or not. 70% of large companies and 35% of small and medium businesses use them. The global ATS market was valued at $2.79 billion by 2026. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry built on filtering you out, being marketed as an efficiency machine in a matching market. The economic modeling is it's a matching market. While it actively employs people to filter out over 90% of its participants, filtering is not matching. These are different things. Filtering profits from the line at the door, matching profits from it clearing. That's the difference. Harvard Business School's hidden worker study documented the human cost. 27 million Americans are actively seeking work, but systematically filtered out by automated systems. Employers didn't accidentally hurt them. They hired an industry to profitably unemploy millions of Americans in a market they could not opt out of. And they kept doing it. Not because candidates were unqualified. Roughly 9 out of 10 executives surveyed admitted they knew their software stopped them from seeing strong applicants, according to Harvard Business School survey data. And they used it anyway. Every company that posts a job through an ATS makes a choice. They choose a system that profits by keeping Americans out of work. ATS companies profit from the unpaid labor, from hope deferred, from your time and attention, and employers have been choosing it for 25 years. The vendor provides customer service to them. Your experience, not their concern. How many kids were kept out of college? How many families lost homes? How many marriages fractured? How many children went hungry? The social and psychological cost of systemic economic violence at scale, not their problem. They white labeled the whole thing. You don't know who rejected you, the ATS, the recruiter, the employer. You'll never know, and no one has to answer. A simple requirement could have been made to make it more transparent. They didn't. They didn't want you to be able to choose Greenhouse versus Workday or just not that. They didn't give that choice to you. You're not the customer. You're not the product. You're the unpaid labor that produces the illusion of selectivity employers pay for. And they didn't notice. The institutions. Here's where it gets worse. 50 state departments of labor, 2 federal agencies, Bureau of Labor and Statistics, Department of Labor, entire academic fields devoted to economics and labor market economics, peer-reviewed studies showing exactly how ATS systems filter out qualified candidates. Harvard's Hidden Workers study documenting 27 million Americans blocked by automated systems. Investigative journalism exposing ghost jobs since 2013. Union leadership raising money in the name of workers, and nothing. No intervention at scale, no campaigns, no legal outcry. For over a decade, every institution whose purpose is supposed to be protecting economic well-being has watched an industry profit from keeping Americans unemployed. And they said nothing. The harm isn't limited to 27 million actively filtered. It suppresses wages across the employed workforce too. And yet the institutions can't or won't intervene. Why? Because the defining feature at play here isn't negligence or incompetence, it's professionalism. Wait, what? Go with me. The people involved are all skilled professionals, and the core narrative of good professionalism says, don't talk about your hiring process, it makes you look unprofessional. The rule becomes a mental straitjacket. Don't think about the hiring process either. The perspective of job seekers, what it's actually like, is cognitively erased. It's not that they don't think about it, it's that the actual act of being a good professional requires performing a subconscious category error, thinking of a process from one perspective. This is what a frame monopoly does. A reference frame monopoly, it doesn't argue with the other perspectives. It makes them unthinkable. There's 2 perspectives in hiring as a 2-sided market, but this one is utterly unthinkable. They genuinely think they're talking about a 2-sided market while they're engaging in a 1-sided, 2-sided market. The scale is staggering. I'm not saying here that one-off people haven't done things like Jacobson Kula has been writing about this for about a year now, pretty seriously. I'm saying the scale, stochastic economic violence at scale has been disproportionately, had been utterly erased, like as it's not a big deal. Part 2, the scale staffing, customer, product, or something else. If you were either the customer or the product of the online labor market, it would require vendors to give you user reviews. That's how you optimize for efficiency and or justify renewing a contract with a vendor. That's it. That's how you do it. So what is this? Here's a question. In a normal 2-sided market, would Nike admit to posting shoes it didn't actually have to sell while academics wrote think pieces about mysterious shoe buyer shortages? Would Disney be allowed to ignore the kids while selling tickets to the parents? What if Disney's rides were known to cause harm to children? Would that be acceptable? The ATS industry doesn't accidentally harm the U.S. labor force. It's not a theme park ride that broke by mistake. It structurally requires the presence of the workforce, your presence and your failure to find work to justify its own existence. Every resume that fails confirms the filter is working. Every applicant who stays in the pool extends its subscription. Your unemployment is literally the profit stream. And everyone knew. It's in publicly available fiscal year reports. Everywhere. So what is this? In a functioning market, talent vendors create value for both their job market stakeholders or they don't earn contracts. That is clearly not happening here. Instead, this functions as an identity marketplace, an unpaid job-seeking labor force producing identity reinforcement for talent vendors and employers. Job seekers labor for talent vendor approval, hoping eventually to get paid work. Hierarchy isn't always about superiority. It's about separateness, being set apart. The ATS gives the illusion of discernment, finding a diamond in the rough. The brutality of the process is a kind of trauma bond. Once you get through, you feel relief at no longer searching and terror at being cast back out. It keeps you silent. Like a $5,000 purse made in the same factory as a $35 purse, you aren't really paying for function, you're paying for exclusivity. The more you pay, the more you reinforce the necessity of the purchase. Your identity is tied up in it. It's like it's a hazing ritual. Identity. Job seekers, at least in ATS systems, are economically mapped, filtered, and made invisible. Yet their labor fuels the perception of value for everyone else. And once you see how it works with the ATS industry, the lack of care about the lemon market with ghost jobs, the open admission of employers posting evergreen roles, and more, it's easier to spot the pattern. Employers view vendors as fellow stakeholders in an identity market, with job seekers as the unpaid labor force producing the value. It's not about what people would admit to, it's about what their behavior demonstrates. In any other marketplace, an ATS system is a market failure by definition, an obstruction machine at scale. In any other marketplace, ghost housing and ghost food would never be allowed. We have literally 50 state departments of labor, unions, journalists, and workforce boards, and none of them can see what they've done or intervene. This isn't a vast conspiracy. This is the cognitive architecture of identity. I mean, there's a lot of actors here, so I'm not going to say what everybody's doing here, but active malice at the scale, active conspiracy at the scale is never heard of, and we have no evidence of that. An active malice at the scale is exhausting. You have to try to hurt somebody like this. You have to keep trying. This isn't active malice. This is intent with lack of care, entitlement to not have to care. The grief. I need to say this clearly. If you are a job seeker who has spent months or years in this system, questioning your worth, wondering what you're doing wrong, you were betrayed. Not by conspiracy, by a structure that was never designed to serve you, and by every institution that was supposed to notice and didn't. Employers outsourced your trust and free labor to an industry that profited from keeping you out of work. Job platforms monetized your desperation with no accountability for ghost jobs, scammers, or identity theft. Policymakers studied the problem, published papers, and went back to their desks. Journalists covered ghost jobs as curiosities, not crises. Unions claimed to fight for workers, but never recognized the exploited labor in the online labor market. All of them failed, and they failed you so completely across so many institutions for so long that the failure itself is the evidence. This was never going to be fixed from the inside. The grief is real. You trusted a system that was not designed for you. You trusted institutions trained not to see you. You blamed yourself for outcomes that were structural. And no doubt, people in your life were hurt too. That's worth grieving. But grief is not waiting. The honeymoon and our power. Here's the part the system doesn't want you to understand. We have more power than it wants us to think. This is an attention economy, and we are the attention. We are the clicks. We are the application. We are the data. We are the engagement metrics that drive the revenue. Platforms, ATS vendors, job boards, they monetize us, our presence, our time, our hope. Which means the moment we can make informed choices, everything shifts. Not because they care. They don't, clearly. Not because they'll change, but because we can avoid them. Because it doesn't matter if they can change, as long as we can avoid them. When job seekers can see which postings are real and which are ghosts, when we can see which companies respond and which ghosts after 4 rounds or 6 rounds or whatever, when we can route around the demons instead of walking blindly into them, the market changes. Not because the demons were formed, but because they got starved. The honeymoon exists here, not as an institution, not as a policy, not as a union. It's a barrier built of our voices, every warning, every review, every here's what happened to me, every don't bother with this company, every this posting was real, every this one was a ghost. You don't even have to say what's real. You just keep that for yourself. If you warn people about what's bad, that already protects people. It's not about complaining, it's about protecting. These voices accumulate, the barrier strengthens, the demons cannot operate in the sunlight. We don't need them to change. We change where we go. And that changes everything downstream. Our voices don't just protect each other, they become the market signal that was missing. They become the regulation that never came. They become the accountability that institutions refuse to provide. We create the honeymoon together. Check the research. If you want receipts, they exist. This is not a feeling, it's documented. Harvard's Business School's Hidden Workers research estimate 27 million Americans are actively seeking work, but systemically excluded by automated hiring systems. Peer-reviewed papers have documented credential discounting, algorithmic filtering, and false negatives at scale. Investigative journalists has tracked ghost jobs and evergreen postings for over a decade. Industry reports show near universal ATS adoption among large employers. This piece doesn't ask you to suspend disbelief. It asks you to stop suspending your own experience. If this didn't happen to you, it wouldn't resonate. If it weren't structural, it wouldn't be everywhere. You don't need to prove what your body already learned. What if you don't have to wait for power to say it's true before you can just say it's true because it happened to me? Part 6, this is what we're building. This is why the job applicant perspective exists. Signal. Job seekers telling each other what actually happened. This posting was real. This one was theater. This process respected my time. This one wasted 3 months of my life. This recruiter was honest. This company has posted the same role for over 2 years. We can already do it some on Reddit, and some people do it scattered on LinkedIn. I made it organized, searchable, Yelp that turns into Google Maps. Anonymous. Decentralized, accumulating, not because someone gave us permission, not because an institution finally acted, because we stopped waiting. The negativity of a bad experience openly shared protects someone else. It's not about complaining. It's about protecting. They won't protect us. We protect each other. That's the thing. They're protecting their identity. We need to protect people in our identity group. We're not asking employers to care. I mean, obviously they don't. We're not participating platforms to reform. No, we're not waiting for regulators who've had decades and chosen not to act. We're doing what users do in every functioning market, sharing what we experience so the next person doesn't walk in blind. Game theory, it's basic signaling. Basic signaling. The fact that it doesn't exist is another article I've written way back then. Another example of why the online job market is nonsense, economic nonsense. Utter hooey, just an extraction machine from the foundations of the global economy. In doing so, we become the thing the market was missing, the feedback loop, the signal, the accountability, memory. Signal. I don't understand. The barrier that keeps the demons out, employers will follow us. We don't need to follow them. They're kind of like puppies when you really think about it. The attention, if we give it to each other, they'll show up, not right away, but they will eventually. And before right away, 1% better is 1% better, 100% better than it is. 2% better is, again, the slow, steady drip a bit better. If you have the choice of shopping on eBay with no user reviews or eBay with user reviews, where do you shop? Where do people post when they have something to sell? Honest to God, same. The online job market is just a gigantic supermarket that profits from hiding the food from its hungry customers. We don't let it profit from that anymore. We warn each other. Closing. This is what it sounds like. I'm borrowing K-pop Demon Hunters. It was a good show, and it's absolutely what a complex dynamic system looks like, this honeymoon concept. Absolutely what it is. Decentralized labor market governance is illustrated in that song at the end. The scars are real. The system did that. The shame you felt was manufactured, designed to make you blame yourself for structural failure. Employers ignored, institutions advocated, the platforms profited, and the leaders did nothing. We hold each other now. We hold each other. This is how all online marketplaces actually work. Collective, decentralized intelligence. It's why the online labor market hasn't worked. It has digitized deference. But the social contract is in shreds, utter shreds, utterly shredded. This is a level of not suicide, not patricide, not fratricide, sociocide, I think is the word I would put for it. This is a level of sociocide, a level of social destruction, like actively chosen. And the deference is over now. Yeah, it's over now. There's no reason to give deference to a system that profits from your destruction. they don't have the capacity to see what they're doing. They think of you as them, so they think they're bringing you value when they're just extracting it from you like a vampire. For all of our sakes, we're shattering the silence. We're rising defiant, shouting in the quiet. You're not alone. We listen to the demons. We let them get between us, but none of us are out here on our own. Imagine her voice. I don't sing like that, so I'm not going to pretend to. But so we were cowards. So we were liars. So we're not heroes. We're still survivors. The dreamers, the fighters. No lying. I'm tired. But dive in the fire, and I'll be right here by your side. This is what it sounds like. The job applicant perspective. Anonymous job-seeking user reviews. The honeymoon we build together. I would like to make addition. One of my readers commented, I love his work, and he's doing a similar work in Italy, in London. He's based in London. He's doing something interesting I'll talk about in another blog post, but he said we should stop calling them job seekers. They are actually job offerers. People offer their skills, time, and commitment in exchange for money in order to accomplish a labor, something that is the effect of power applied for a period of time, a watt. On the other side, companies seek for the labor to be done. They need someone capable of such commitment and mix of skills for a period of time. So that ultimate effect is the labor done. It may seem trivial, but if we start inverting the position, people are not seekers. They do not need a job. They possess capabilities, skills, and know-how to be that is useful for organizations to achieve results they seek. So the seekers are the organizations, the companies, not people. People have the power. Companies have the need. I like it. I think it's a worthwhile version as well. Again, for me, the job applicant perspective, it's all about the perspective. Which perspective are you coming from? And understanding that in the labor market, there is no top down. There is no top down. Top down is economic destruction. Bottom up is economic safety, stability, and growth. Period. Right now, we're operating digitized deference, top down, emic versus etic kind of stuff, if you like cybernetic conversational topics. But regardless. Anyway, that's what I have to say on the score. This is specifically geared towards job seekers to validate, engage with them. I'm aware, and I wanted to just say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, however you support your holidays, and be seen. I can't offer much more yet besides just validation and, fire in the night against, some of the just massive amounts of gaslighting, just massive. And it's funny because I'll speak to it in another blog. I don't think it's intent without the malice of intent, more Maui, not Tamatoa from Moana. But Maui has to give the heart back, has to let go of the one frame of reference that they have the only frame of reference that's valid. You don't. The fact that you think you do is the problem. It's not that. I think that don't talk about your hiring process that makes you unemployable has been the single most destructive thing to the U.S. economy in Asia's, the global economy, really. But regardless, that's what I got for now. And I just basically staying out there, and please only trust people on the roads. The internet made the world into a snowstorm. Only trust people on the roads, and be kind to each other. We don't need to have money to be kind to each other, It doesn't cost anything. In fact, it brings value every last time. So be safe.